Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here to present our research that we're doing with our team, Damian Keller and Lazzarini, who are also here present. I will try to keep my presentation to 20 minutes, and then we can we can discuss also with Victor and Damian and ask questions. Just shortly, Victor is a professor at the Maynooth University in Ireland. He's a researcher in signal processing and sound synthesis, specialized also in computer music languages. Also, he's a composer. Damian is an associate professor of music technology at the Federal University of Acre and the Federal University of Paraíba in Brazil. His research focuses on everyday recreativity, software design, and echo composition within the context of ubiquitous music making. I'm teaching assistant at the Academy of the Arts in Bern in Switzerland, and PhD candidate at the University of Bern in the graduate program studies in the arts. I'm also a composer. So today I will talk about our current efforts to build a conceptual and methodological framework for archaeological Ubimus practice. We describe the strategies applied to build a working replica of the Music 5 acoustic compiler, including our discovery of the earliest known version of the source code in the Fond Jean-Claude Risset. We also provide examples taken from one of the representative works of the analog digital transition of the piece, the piece Computer Suite for Little Boy by Jean-Claude Risset. Since 2007, our community has been engaged in a multidisciplinary effort to investigate the creative potential of converging forms of social interaction, mobile and distributed technologies, and materially grounded artistic practices. We have proposed the adoption of the term ubiquitous music to define practices that empower participants of musical experiences through socially oriented creativity enhancing tools. Thus, Ubimus deals with the design of material resources, activities, and byproducts for creative goals. Software archaeology not only needs to engage with computer code, it also needs to take into account the culture in which the code was produced. Rescuing design notes, learning materials, and music made with historical software is an important part of the process, and there the key target is the reconstruction of the software itself as closely to the original sources as possible. UbimusArchaeology targets the study of past musical experiences through the reconstruction of the musical products and the processes employed for their deployment. The methods entail understanding the limits of the technology of the time and its impact on the ways of music making. In some cases, resources and processes have become conceptually foreign and materially unavailable, prompting for the application of new strategies of reconstruction and validation. Our perspective of Ubimus encompasses the archaeology of creative resources, the archaeology of creative models, and the archaeology of creative ecosystems. Here we will, in the context of this analog digital transition, we will target actually a particular case, the restoration of a classic piece of a software from the 1960s, the Music 5 acoustic compiler. We refer to the process of reconstructing the software as a creation of a replica, a piece of software that is capable of operating in the same format as the original program, using the similar digital format of the original inputs and producing outputs that are comparable to the original sonic outputs. We base our work on the original sources, and the reconstructed software has been written so that it can be widely supported by modern hardware systems. Music 5 is located in the 4th generation of digital audio synthesis programs written by Max Matthews in Bell Labs. Victor actually proposes the following chronology, and it started with the 1st generation in the 1956, 58 with the Music 1 and Music 2, who were actually the first straight digital synthesis program running on a general purpose computer. And then the lineup goes to the generation 4, where actually the Music 5 is a machine independent, so a transferable music software that is actually written in high level language. And we found actually in Fond Risset under the call number R21-002, we have found the source code annotated by Risset 1968 or 1969, which is, to our knowledge, the earliest preserved example of this source code. The program operates in actually it contains, we could say, three different stages, which could be regarded as three different programs, where the pass 1 and pass 2 produce a set of punch cards with their output data to be used in the subsequent pass, and pass 3 writes the output audio as a 12-bit samples. And it writes it to a magnetic tape file, and then this digital tape is converted to audio using a separate digital analog converter and recorded. Then it's recorded on an analog tape. Our replica takes a score as a text file and produces a riff wave floating point sound file, and this emulates the original operation without the problems of the original hardware. We do this by a single command in the terminal. Here are the examples of the well, actually, I will show just the four sources on which we based our reconstruction. First one is the semi-restored Fortran source code that actually was typed into machine-readable format by Bill Schotstad in 2008. It's based on a printout from 1975. Another important source is Risset's catalog of computer synthesized sounds that was published in 1969. It has fragments of the code of Music 5. Then, of course, there is a Music 5 manual which is part of the book, The Technology of Computer Music, published in 1969. Here says 97, I think it's 1969. And then, of course, our facsimile of the printout that we have just found a couple of months ago. The work on the replica applied the methods and techniques of the software archaeology. First is the version control. The source code has been put into a digital repository so that any changes, all changes can be tracked. We try to respect the original code. There is no attempt to modernize the code base beyond bringing it in line with the latest compiler requirements. And all the changes that are introduced are actually then well, actually, the original code is preserved as comments if something has been changed. And additions or modifications in terms of optionality have been made only in extreme cases. We also try to compare different sources of code and documentation, also annotations that we find along. And what is important is we do not assume that the code runs or that it runs as intended just because it compiles and builds. And I will come to this later when we see that in Risset's runs, actually they appear to be running, but then the result is sometimes not really as it should be. And of course, we capture a snapshot of its running and operation processes, so we can also compare them retrospectively with what has been done. Now we'll pass to the music to the little boy sources. These are the sources that we have found in for Risset, and they contain, it's a physical folder with various documents annotated by Risset. They include a lot of spectrographs, a lot of individual sheets entitled with different titles, all referring to different parts of the piece Little Boy, a lot of drawings and sketches. We don't have the original tapes there. The original tapes are presumably preserved in the Institut National de l'Audiovisuel in Paris, in the GRM. And also, it is possible that there are tapes of those small sketches that I will talk a little bit later about. But we still don't know this. We have to check this with Paris, but we haven't done so yet. We didn't got access to this. So our method actually encompasses various procedures, from the archival work, from the digitalization, cataloging, critical examination of the sources, running the score, and of course debugging also both like Music 5 source code and Risset score code. And what we encounter is that more often than not, actually running the code doesn't give satisfactory results. And the reason for this are varied. We can put it in three groups. One is the three groups of reasons. One is the programming errors. Either the required comments of codes are missing, the input parameters don't match the program's requirements, certain subroutines are not properly designed, etc. Then there are others that make the results sound strange. They're like designing errors. So it means the code actually does run as it should be, but from Risset's annotation, it is clear that his intentions were others, which means that he actually did some, in design of his instruments in the score, he made some mistakes. And then of course there are source code errors, which also we discover when we are running the code, code of Risset scores, we discover that actually our replica sometimes is not doesn't really play that doesn't include all the necessary features that to place certain codes, and then we have also to adjust the source code. So the problem that we encounter is that actually these three types of errors, programming, designing, and source code errors, actually may occur simultaneously, and then we actually need a lot of trial and error procedures to figure out where the errors are. And a deep understanding of the score code and a clear idea of the expected sound outcome are needed in order to say if the obtained sound corresponds actually to the score code. I think I can show an example, and I will. Do you see my mouse when I'm here or not? You do. Okay, so this is an example of a run from the 7th August 1968, and this is one example. Is one of the 10 score codes from Little Boy. Referred to by Risset as Fanfare pour le Triomphe, which is a kind of a part of Little Boy. And this score showed the development of an instrument based on feedback amplitude modulation. And this is probably one of the earliest examples of this kind of modulation. These 10 scores are dated from the 7th August to 20th August. 2 of those 10 are undated. And here in the yellow section is what we call what was called by Max Matthews as the orchestra section. That's where the instruments are designed, and you see in the two gray lines, there are 2 different types of instruments. In total, there are actually 12 instruments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until 12, but 1 to 6 are the same, and then 7 to 12 are also, it's another different instrument. I don't know, I think I don't have now time to enter into details of this, but just to say that the first instrument is actually what you see here, what I designed here. That's actually this feedback instrument that has an oscillator that sends an output and gives it back to the adder. Adder actually adds the initial amplitude to the output of the oscillator, and then joins this to a P6 is a frequency. So we have a kind of an eternal loop here. And that's what Risset in this first line of code actually designs. The second one is an instrument that actually cancels the feedback by sending a 0 to multiplying the B7 signal with a 0. So the second part, the important part of this printout is actually the actual score, which is denotated by not records, and all these not records are actually the actual notes. And we see here the first one is played by instrument 1, started at time 1, lasting for 6 beats at the amplitude of 200, and then the frequency of 103. And here we have even the score Risset wrote actually. So this is the transcription of an actual score here. Down here we have a converter subroutine, which we had a lot of problems with these because very often they were not correct, and they actually define whether the score, actually they define the tempo, and they define other different parameters like sample rates. So when that doesn't calculate well, then we have very strange results. So the first published schema of the feedback amplitude modulations appears as instrument 1 in example 510 in Risset's catalog from 1969. And Risset says, you can see this on the screen, and the concept was suggested by Arthur Laser. And at a conference, at an Acoustic Society conference in Stockholm, I think in 1971, Laser actually, besides description of this phenomenon, says that Risset used it first in his Little Boy. And the Rhodes, Curtis Rhodes attributes this work on feedback amplitude modulations both to Moore, to Risset and Laser, as well as Matthews and Moore. So it's very possibly, and we can see this from this from our findings in Risset, that very probably there was this kind of intramuros conversations between these people, and then it was often went undocumented, but then the results were visible in their works. Let me see. Yeah, here is the important thing. We see here the 4 different orchestra. You can see the instrument now. Well, let's say the first one, the leftmost, was written on 7th August and on 15th August, and it's actually on 2 scores on the page 14, and another one is page 21. And I will try to play it now. I don't know how do you hear it there, but it has a lot of clipping, and that's of course the problem with this feedback. It's actually completely out of control. We see in this instrument there is no system that actually prevents over clipping. Then we have a second instrument where actually Risset on the same date of 7th August tried to make an envelope for this for this sound. You can see that the feedback is now much better controlled, but it's still clipping, and there are a lot of like clicks. I can maybe also try to play this one. And then the last one from the 20th of August. Sorry. Also in the last example, there are some tiny strange artifacts. We still can see the progress, the work in progress, how actually he's trying to find a solution for this too hard feedback. Yeah, what's an interesting thing actually in the pages from 2 of these 10 scores, that there is actually the instrument 7 is missing, which means it doesn't even have the possibility for cutting the feedback. So it means at that point he was not aware that was necessary. And here I would just go to the quickly for some conclusions, that we actually had the opportunity to be among the first to have the access to this material and to propose a classical reading. And our analyses are opening the possibilities for new readings of Risset's creative processes, what was possible to do, what would have happened if Risset had changed some parts of the code, what wouldn't work, etc. It really opens a lot of different options of interpretations. It helped us comprehend some of Risset choices, both from an aesthetical and programming standpoint. And these two aspects and their interconnections were the basis for a mutually malleable environment in which Little Boy was created, and which actually stands in the center of our Ubimus practice. Then our replica can be used to synthesize all scores from the catalog, and the increasing number of Little Boy and mutations score, also his piece mutations, we are also able to synthesize it. And our plan is to reconstruct Risset's early works, such as Little Boy and mutations, and if we found the source code for the later versions, maybe even for the later works. And we also want to study the methods and ideas of early computer music practices from this perspective. And we believe that this would be also possible to apply for other, not only for Risset's music, but for other music that from this period of digital, analog digital transition in the 60s. Thank you very much. I will stop now just acknowledgements. We are supported by the Swiss National Science Foundation, Brazil National Council for Scientific and Technological Development, and this is who we are. Thank you.